Hi friends, Itheria here, and even when we're in a content lull, apparently this game isn't boring because the Ultimate Raiders will feed us. So if you haven't heard, there has been some drama in the Ultimate Raiding community. Essentially, a healer named Wave got kicked from their OP hardcore best of the best static because they called out the other healer for depleting their mana entirely by casting GCD heals when there was absolutely no outgoing damage. The general consensus of the public is that Wave is in the right, and the other healer, Dice, acted like a total baby man-child. I don't know if Dice is a man, but you get the point. And then a third party named Rin, who is friends with Dice, also went out of his way to gaslight Wave, who everyone has decided, the community has decided, was actually in the right. But so this got me thinking, like, drama in raiding is actually relatively common, and it doesn't just happen in the hardcore statics, so why? Why is there so much drama in the raiding community? And if we can put our finger on it, could we all maybe be a little better, and could we avoid it? I don't know. I don't know if you're ever going to be able to avoid it because you cannot control what other people are doing, but you can control your own behavior. So I hope that everybody, if you have a problem with your static, can communicate respectfully. But let's get into my theories, ideas about why there is drama, so much drama in the raiding community, and I'd love to hear your own thoughts in the comments below why you think there is drama. But I've got a few little points here, so let's get going. The first one is that it's a high-stakes environment, and whenever you're in a high-stakes environment, there tends to be higher tension. And Ultimate is the highest stakes of the game. Even in Savage raiding, though, you do get a fair bit of drama sometimes. I've been lucky enough that really neither of my statics really had any drama. We did have some issues that we had to talk out, but we talked them out like adults. We didn't have any little drama with people having hissy fits and leaving. Nothing of the sort. But yes, high stakes, high tension. There's only so much room for mistakes. Even in Savage, I think Savage can be relatively forgiving, and some of them are more forgiving than others. Like usually the first 1 or 2 fights in the tier are more forgiving than the 3rd or 4th fight in the tier. But regardless, mistakes, there's only so many that you can make because you'll wipe your whole group if you're making a mistake, and ultimately people don't want their time wasted. So you can get kicked if you do not meet their standards, especially in a hardcore group doing an ultimate raid with a goal of clearing within, I don't know, however many weeks they decide they want to clear. But unfortunately, some people go about kicking in the wrong way. And talking about time, I was saying this already, but people don't want their time wasted. So if they feel like someone's not performing very well, it's quite common for them to call that out. The issue is here that people are sensitive. That's just part of being a human being. And even if you try to call them out respectfully and offer constructive criticism, well, think about the last time that you got constructive criticism. Some people are better than taking it at others, but I know for me personally, even if I can logically say this person is not harassing me, they're not bullying me, they're not insulting me, they're just offering some advice that is hard for me to swallow. Like, I don't know, like I'm definitely the kind of person that I can be a little bit more sensitive to that. And I try my best not to take that out on anyone else, but I think it's very common for people to struggle with criticism because even if it's something they need to hear, it doesn't always feel good to hear it. So because of that, these things kind of mesh together can end up causing problems because sometimes people can get really defensive about things. Even if it's totally correct to be saying like, hey, you really need to put a shield here and you didn't, like, even if that's totally true and correct, it can be hard for people to feel called out like that and to take that criticism and be constructive with it because people are sensitive. So it really takes good communication. It takes trying to say it as respectfully as possible. Sometimes saying things instead of saying you and calling people out, it could be something like, we need more mitigation here, can help, and then assigning it to each person. But there does come a point sometimes when you really do have to call people out, and sometimes a tactful way to do that can be, honestly, to PM them about it, especially if you're the raid leader, to DM them either like after a pull or just after that particular raid meeting in general and say, hey, you look like you're struggling with this. Can we help you? You weren't getting your mitigation off here, like whatever, So there are tactful ways to handle it, but unfortunately not everyone cares to be tactful. And some of the least tactful people are the people that have a big ego. And unfortunately, you're going to find that in raiding, especially probably in hardcore raiding, because people are proud of being a good player. And there's nothing really wrong with being proud of it. It's just that a lot of times they aren't really just proud, they're arrogant. So they end up thinking that they know best, even if they don't. And I think that's what happened with Rin, because he had a bias already because he's friends with Dice, but he also, he's not a healer, and he probably didn't really know what was going on, because if you go back and watch the footage, it's pretty easy to see that Wave had a point. Why are you healing when there's no outgoing damage? So yeah, I think him having an ego and being arrogant and feeling like he's, a really good player, OP, probably thought that, he knew best and he could comment and he could say what was what when he's wrong. It seems like he's wrong. Let's just put it that way. And going off of that whole friendship thing, couples or just BFFs enable each other all the time and not always in good ways. There are a lot of people who have been in that one static where there's a couple and one of them maybe is problematic in some way. Maybe they are playing poorly and they aren't listening to advice or help. Maybe they're not showing up on time. Maybe they're not showing up prepared. They never have their food or their tinctures, things like that. And when it comes time to address it, the significant other is always out here treating them like they did nothing wrong, backing them up, validating the behavior that is ultimately a problem. They're validating problem behavior, and so the person who is doing that problem behavior is not going to change because they have someone in their corner telling them that they are in the right, even if they aren't. And which take do you think they want to hear? Their significant other who loves them and who's validating their bad behavior, or you who's criticizing them and telling them that they're in the wrong? Another thing I think can cause drama is when people have different expectations. So it's really important that when you join a group or when you create a group, you set those expectations. The raid leader really needs to make that clear. Everybody needs to agree on what the goals and expectations of the group are, because when those aren't clear, or when people have different expectations, especially because there's always, this is another thing, because there's always these people who will join the group. They'll agree to the expectations that everybody has set, and then they'll get mad when people don't, they don't do it fast enough or something, and you're like, but we said, so that can happen, but sometimes it's not that way. Sometimes it's just that there was never a clear expectation set to begin with, and people are at different places, and then they ultimately don't end up meshing well as a group because not everybody is on the same page. Another thing is people who will go in Party Finder to practice outside of their static, especially if they end up progging further than their static is at, they end up kind of they may not realize it, but their expectations almost change because now they're further ahead and they almost don't realize, but they kind of feel like their group should get there, or they feel like they know things. And sometimes instead of being helpful, they end up just being a little bit harmful because they'll call people out or whatever. And it's well, the rest of the group didn't prog quite as far as you because you went in Party Finder. So now you've your expectations have shifted without you necessarily noticing because you're at a different point. So I don't know, maybe just don't do the Party Finder thing, or if you do, make sure that you're actually being helpful and not annoying. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so we've talked about the hardcore and the ego, and that's essentially people taking things too seriously, but there are also people that do the opposite. They don't take things as seriously as others. So they might not show up on time, they might be late, they might dip last minute, they don't show up prepared with their tinctures and their food and all this stuff, and essentially what they're doing is they're wasting people's time. To them, it's just a game, it's no big deal, and that's fine. It can be just a game to you. You don't have to take it seriously because, it should be fun. It should be just a game, whatever. But the problem is that you made a commitment to 7 other people. And when you don't honor that commitment, you literally waste their time. Because if you don't show up or you don't show up prepared, then those people who want to do a certain thing, they have goals that you hopefully agreed to based on my last point. Again, you're just wasting their time because now they're sitting around waiting for you to meld your gear, waiting for you to even show up because you show up late, all these things. So if your raid time is 7 o'clock, you should be there at 7 o'clock. Actually, you should be there at 6:50. Get there at 6:50, log in, check your gear, make sure that your gear is repaired, make sure that your gear is melded, make sure that you have your tinctures and your food. 10 minutes is plenty of time to do that stuff. And then you won't be late and you won't be causing your group to waste time waiting for you, time that they could have spent progging, because that's what most everybody else wants to be doing is progging. They don't want to be waiting around for you. So just be respectful and be considerate. And if you can't make a commitment like that and you can't show up on time, then don't be in that raid group. That's it. Don't be in the raid group. Go raid in Party Finder if you want to raid, because that's the thing about a static is you have to respect other people's time. And if you can't do that, then you should just raid in Party Finder. That's it. So those are my kind of main theories and ideas about what is causing drama in the raiding community. And I would love to hear your thoughts below. What do you think brings up drama? And also, I would love to hear your tea. Spill your tea in the comments. Tell me your stories. Tell me like the worst things that have happened to you in raids. I would love that. As always, thank you so much for watching, and please remember to leave a sacrifice for Lord Algorithm in the form of a like, comment, share, or subscribe. Bye!